Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuning in from or if you are listening to us on replay. This is The Awesome Journey, and I am your host, Kelly Steinica, along with my co-host in care, Christy Howard. And we're just two girls that met on LinkedIn 15 years ago, live on opposite sides of the country, have giving hearts and a passion for paying it forward. And as most of you know, one of our major goals here was to highlight incredible individuals to share their unique stories and challenges, because let's be honest, we're all united in our personal journeys. And today's guest, we just could not be more excited about because Don Cohen, who many of you know from the Hour of Empower, which is every day at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And he's been doing it straight for almost a year now. But he is definitely the reason that we are even sitting here today. While the Awesome Journey may have been my brainchild and I could never have brought it to life without Christy Howard, Don is definitely the catalyst for why we are here. So we're so grateful to have him, and just a fun way to have him as a guest instead of a host for a change, but he's always going to be a co-host to me. And we are going to talk about some exciting things because you all get to hear his wisdom, his quotes, and all of that just wonderful advice that so many of us are inspired by, have changed our lives, and have made us just better human beings. But we wanted to talk a little bit about his work today, and some other things. But I think there's so many of you that don't know that, Don, he did work for only one person as a teenager, and he started off on eBay with two items that he listed at $2 each and ended up becoming Amazon and Walmart's top marketplace partner, and generated over $200 million in sales. I mean, incredible. Two-time Retailer of the Year, two-time top 50 website of the internet retailer, and three-time Inc. 500 CEO. Quite the accomplishments, and just so honored to have him here. And before we get to Don, let me quickly turn it over to my co-host in care, Christy
Howard. Hello. Hopefully my dogs don't start barking. Anyway, Don, I'm excited. I mean, again, I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for Don and Kelly. LinkedIn Live, doing lives just wasn't my gig, but now it's just sort of like sitting in somebody's, living room and we're just having a conversation. What's exciting for me, not only, I enjoy doing Fridays with Don and Harvey, is I love entrepreneurs. I love digging into their brain. I love learning from them. Somebody is always smarter than I am, and I know that Don is a lot smarter than I am, especially with his business sense. And so I'm excited to hear more about his story, his successes, and with successes we sometimes have our downfalls. As I always say, life is ebb and flow. However, we all become phoenixes through those ebbs and flows. So with that, Don, thank you. And again, we really like you being a guest. And so you get to share your whole story and your journey.
Well, that's so kind of both of you. When I see Christy and I see Kelly, it is based on an awesome journey that we're already having even before the show. We are on an awesome journey from the day I met Kelly and the day Kelly introduced me to Christy. And I had never anticipated what this would turn out to be, because when I started it, it was just me and me until someone showed up. And, that allowed me to get to know what I was doing better. Sometimes being alone is good when you need to figure things out, and when you figure things out, maybe the crowd shows up. But going back to my business background and what got me to LinkedIn is, I went to school in Detroit, graduated, and couldn't find a job, and couldn't even take jobs that I didn't want, but wouldn't even get offered. So I just decided, me and a friend, his dad had a little tool business, and we decided to get a little store and become a jobber. So what that means is we had to work from a catalog. We'd have a few tools, but we'd order things and pick them up and have them for the people. And that's how we started, little by little. Well, make a long story short, I made $50 a week that first year. And everybody in my family says, "What are you doing? You went to school and this is what you ended up at." because their whole thing was live, work, and die. That was usually the program. And I went a different way, and because of that, the second year I ended up buying the building, buying the restaurant. And so at 24, I was a property owner. I was a real estate person. I ended up moving into a high-rise luxury apartment, brand new car, cash in the bank. It was just unbelievable how you can start with nothing except desire and commitment. And you had to do so much more. I mean, I had so little inventory. I used to always say, well, I'll throw the box away for you if you don't have a use for it. And they say, sure. And that box would be right behind a full box. And I would double my inventory. Hopefully people wouldn't take the empty box to the counter. But, it was little things like that. But more importantly, I made every customer count. If they came in the store, there was the only thing that meant something, because when they left, I had nothing. So I would keep people in the store as long as I could, just to talk to them. Where you're from, what are you buying, where you used to going? Here's some cards. I'll put your name on the back of them. If they come in, I'll give you something later on. And it was that community building. That's what we're doing here on LinkedIn Live, is meeting people, showing up the best we can for them, modeling for them. So anyways, make a long story short, that business continued to thrive. I got into, it was actually at the same time they were building the Alaskan pipeline. Oh, and what was interesting about that, I would start to put ads in men's type things, like I was in Carcraft, Hot Rod. Then I was in the construction magazines. There was a magazine called Rock and Dirt, that was big for people who had Caterpillar stuff and those kind of things. So anyway, put a little ad, and all of a sudden, I forgot what the oil company, they were in Dead Horse, Alaska. And they would order these big 1-inch impact wrenches. And it just happened, my store was like 100 yards from a post office. So I could just wrap it up, walk it to the street, send it, and come back to the store. And that just flourished. And then I became a big commercial player with the big automakers and set up commercial accounts. And then after about 5 years, I had to make a decision, in that I was going to open a second store, and that would have kind of cemented me in Detroit. But by then, me and Ann had already been going together for like 6 years. And she said, I had it with Detroit. She was there just because we were there. And it was kind of like, what's your thing? I said, I'm selling the business. I'm selling the building. We're getting out of here. I don't like the weather. And so that's how we ended up in Denver, through Phoenix, actually, because we got married in Vegas on the way. We were only 2 at the ceremony. And we were both on unemployment at the time. So it gave us, so what we had to do is honeymoon in Arizona, because my wife had family there. So anywhere you had family, you could stay, have use of the car, and plus they'd show you around. I loved Phoenix, but it was like in the middle of summer, and I wasn't used to it. And then I said, let's go to Denver. So anyways, we got to Denver, and I got into real estate there. And my first day of real estate, I told Ann, who was a teacher at the time, subbing in Denver, hey, come on, we'll make this easier. You come in the car, you look at the right side of the street, I'll look at the left. We're supposed to look for vacancies. So she said, okay. And I see a tool store, which I haven't seen in Denver since I moved. And then I went and I saw another tool store. And I said, if this is the only thing in Denver, we got to open up a tool store. And my wife said, you've only been in real estate for a day. Couldn't you? I said, no, we'll do both. I can do this Monday through Thursday. And that's, I guess, how I got into a 7-day thing. Make a long, tell me if I'm talking too much. But anyways, opened up, first day, had my little dog. We named it Rocky, after the mountains. And no one showed up. And it was my birthday. And Ann made this really cool cake. And at the end of the day, everything we had in the world looked like we had nothing. And it was hard to choke down that cake that day. And then 2 weeks later, a competitor came in, and it's like, now it's Christmas. And I said, what are we going to do? I said, let's just close. No one's been here. We'll think about it, reopen. And what I did is I put 3 days open to the public. That's how much inventory we had. And I put it all at cost. And I said, we got to get cash flow. And if we can't sell at cost, we're never going to make money. We sold out. And every 4 days I would fill up and we'd sell out and sell out and sell out. Then we went to 7 days a week, opened a second store 3 months later, and became Colorado's fastest growing business, 162nd fastest in the US. So make a long story short, that continued until about 98, 99. And that's when the internet started getting interesting. And I set up a really rudimentary website, got on eBay, got on Amazon, and eventually it turned out I was listing up to 600,000 items a day on every major platform, which was huge because of stock outs, price changes. You had to have all kinds of proprietary software. So when I finally decided to retire about 6 years ago, and, through that, I had met so many people. I was so fortunate. I never had to go for an interview. I never got fired. I never worried about job security. I had to worry about company security, because if that wasn't that. But, because I had nothing, I knew what it was to have nothing because nobody would hire me. I knew what it was not to be hired. So I swore whoever I brought in, I would never treat that way. And one thing that really, I took advantage of situations of inequity. And this might be sounding progressive in a way, but me and Ann decided we would just hire all women. Everybody who could do something. I mean, even if it didn't matter, because back then, women, just like today, were making less for the same work. We're not getting respected. Back then in newspapers, you could actually define who you wanted.
Yep.
So women, secretaries, men, so it was that bad. But what I did that made it so valuable is I paid them men's wages. I didn't just hire them. I said everything is merit and performance because I can't afford to discriminate even if I wanted to, and I didn't want to anyways. And you know what? We were the top 10 workplace in Denver every year because we never had any retention issues. We had people looking out for each other, looking out for the company because they had opportunities they couldn't find and may not be able to replace. And that's where the team comes into it, because one person with $4 can only go so far. I brought my son into it, which was interesting. And when I saw we sold some, I couldn't believe that something like that could happen. And I said to him, we just put 2 items on, put 5 items on. And then eventually we had 20 items. And then he decided to quit. And I'm like, how do you quit? He says, well, he's 10 years old or something at the time. What's he care? So I hired
child labor there.
I hired his sister, and she lasted a few more weeks. And then she decided not to. And what was funny, I gave them both $20. And later on, when the business became a big success, my son Jonathan wasn't, honestly, for a while, he wasn't even talking to me because he thought everything was because of him. And now I got this huge success and he only got $20. And I said to him, I said, John, here's a lesson for you. Next time, take a percentage, not a bulk payment. Right. And anyways, it worked out great. He ended up working with me for 8 years. So anyways, that's my story. A lot more to it.
That is
got me here.
So exciting. I want to share because you have a fan club.
Oh,
Yeah.
A lot of people would not be on their LinkedIn lives if it wasn't for you. So I've got Florin, brilliant project. Congratulations. Omar, good morning.
Hey, Omar.
We've got Paul, which he makes a good point that if it wasn't for you, none of us would know each other.
That's right.
Let's see. We got Rita. Rita's another co-host, celebrating Don, the 3 of us. Matt Allen. Love Matt Allen, the miracle. There you go. Let's see. Rita again. Yes. There you go. Add conversations. Jeff. I got my girl Holly. She's a Texas girl. Thank you, Holly, for showing up. And there you go. Who's the man? You know who the man is.
Kudos, man.
Chief.
Well done.
Chief is a great. A lot of these people all show up to Don's because Don has his LinkedIn Live Empower Hour of Empower daily. Now that's daily, Monday through Sunday at 11 o'clock. It is worthy for everybody to chime in once in a while. And Mabola, glad to have our daddy in our house.
Love it. Love it.
You didn't know you had so many children. We've got Ken Morris, Matt, community and valuing people. So Paul always brings questions. He wants to know how many he's curious. You've met so many legends in life and business. Who's been the most impactful person you've met and what did they teach you?
Well, that's a great question, Paul. And I've said this in the past. Everything, my life has been a lot like Forrest Gump. When you find yourself in front of people and with people that you had to pinch yourself to say, am I really in the room with this person? Am I actually shaking hands with this person? And, I'm not into, I've always been taught to be interested, not interesting, and, just dropping a bunch of names. But I did have an opportunity, which is a great story, is I was at a major conference. I used to be part of this pretty significant group that met once a year at some of the most amazing resorts. And we were at Las Colinas down in Dallas and had tremendous speakers. I was raising some money and working the crowd a little bit without being too businesslike. And I really wasn't able to achieve my goal. And I was sitting there at the end of the thing, looking at my tablecloth, and a guy gives me an elbow from nowhere and says, "Are you going to eat your cheesecake?" And I, first of all, when someone elbows you, you wonder, hey, what's going on here? And I looked at the guy as a very nice gentleman, and I said, "No, I never touched it. Here's a glass of wine. Be my guest." I went back into deep thought. And they happened to see my name tag. Says, "You're from Denver." And I looked at his, and he was from Birmingham, Michigan. And I came from there, and my mother lived like 5 minutes from his place. And he said, "I heard a lot about you and your company, and I'm going to be in Denver for a week. I'd love to see one of your stores." And he had a lumber yard. I said, "Well, that's great, because I'd love to show you one. You just give me the date and the time. I'll pick you up. We'll go to lunch, see a store." And I had no idea who this guy was. And he turned out to be a billionaire. And he was plain as day, never wanted to wear a tie, always had like gym shoes on. You never know it. And he started with nothing himself. So he came into the store and he says, "You got a real winner here. And I love helping entrepreneurs. If you ever need something, here's my attorney's card. And, give us a call." And I said, "Well, I don't have to call him. I'll tell you right now, I need something to complete a financing." And he said, "Well, just send it to him, Ira, and if he likes it, I'll do it. The deal is, when you visit your mother, you come to my headquarters. When I visit my kids and grandkids, I'll come to you, and he had 50 lumber stores. He said, "I got tool departments in all of them. We can help each other." And that turned out to be a 12-year relationship that every month I would come in and for a week sit in his boardroom and be a fly on the wall. I didn't say anything, wasn't meant to say something. And then at the end of the day, we'd sit down and he'd say, "Give me your opinion, because you have no skin in this game, right? Yeah. And you've been on my side of the table." We became such best friends. And I went places with him and had access to situations. It was like a magic carpet ride. And when I take him back to his daughters, one time I said, "Hey, Fred, I think I can take it from here." And he was getting older. And he said, "I've been waiting for you to tell me that for years." And he says, "You're right." And he put like $1 million plus in. And this is like in the 80s. And he says, "You know what?" He said, "Just give me my money back over 5 years with no interest." Cool. And I ended up paying him in 3 years. And I said to him, I said, "Fred, how do I ever take care of you on this. He says, I don't think you can. But he says, if you want to do the right thing, do for other people like I've done for you, right? And that would make it all worthwhile. And after he passed away, he left $280 million in trust for the Great Lakes, for the city of Detroit, and for Alzheimer's, which he ended up having. And, you know, it's just that elbow. And anybody who wasn't in the mood could have like said, hey, I'm going to eat it, or right. I'm busy, right? So it was that openness, that graciousness, you know, that when I gave it to him, I gave it to him in the spirit of hospitality. And, you know, people do things with you because they like you first. They respect you first. They don't care what you do because they can do it. They're expecting you to follow and do that. So that's what I think everybody should be a little bit more cognizant of, the people. And the other thing is, I've then taken people, and I followed his advice. I took so many people, especially a lot of young people, especially a lot of people who didn't have advantages. Most of them never went to college, you know, but I could see in their eyes they were going to be unstoppable if someone would just go against the trend, right? And I had people that from physical ways weren't exactly that attractive, right? So it cut across all channels. It wasn't one group. But I just looked at, is this person honest, you know? And is this person willing to work for something? And you know what? When you give people chances that they don't think they have a chance, you're going to get so much loyalty, honesty. And if you continue to treat them like they're the most important person in the world, as opposed to, I pay you, you work for me,
yes.
You know, you do what I tell you. It's almost like being trained versus having your cage open and say, run, you know, have fun. And, you know, people don't want to lose what really nourishes them. And I think that's the key. You can start, you know, there's two ways people say you can make a lot of money. And that's either other people's money, OPM, or other people's time. And when you don't have money, you have to build one person at a time with you and make that the best place of the day they go to. Because I can tell you, I had so many people who had so many awful situations that they were into, awful relationships, financial issues. And when they came to work, it was like going to the Hour of Power. They had a whole rooting section, you know, that they could go to. And that's why people enjoyed working there, because everybody was valuable. And I think that transfers to what we're doing. If you look at Rita, all these people, they're just amazing. We're so fortunate to have that support.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you're doing here, but it definitely what you did in your business is you created a community. It wasn't just jobs for people. And you know, so many things in there that you say touch me personally. I mean, the hiring all women and paying them equal salary, of course, that resonates guaranteed between Christy and I for sure. And just love that you were thoughtful about that. And I know that you also said you interviewed every employee that ever came into your business, which is incredible. But it was even before culture was a thing that was ever talked about. Like, you were culture before culture was cool, for lack of a better term, because you were just creating a community of people that were working towards one goal. And it's just so beautiful, and it seems so simple, and corporate America could certainly take a lesson from you in so many ways. And now translating that to, you know, here you are retired, and you don't need to do anything to help people, and that's what you continue to do every single day. And which is why I know for a majority of us, or the group certainly that I know within the Hour of Empower group, you inspire all of us so much, not just by showing up every day as the best version of yourself. You're there for all of us. And I'm telling anyone, if you've not had a Zoom call with Dawn, you do feel like you're the only one. He's so present, so into it, listens, gives great advice, and which is another, great quality that you have is you're an incredible listener. And that you see people, and I can see this personally, and I'm sure I've cried when saying this to you privately before too, is Don does have a way of reminding you of certain things about yourself that maybe you've forgotten. And maybe that I didn't think that I could do. And I don't even know that I didn't know I could do certain things, but it's like he's opened my eyes to things that I didn't even know. But it was like he knew. And so there's just this wonderful way that you see people that reflects back on themselves and they go, or for me anyways, that I can say like, wow, I knew there was something there, but I didn't see it, but he did. And I mean, it's such a blessing and such a gift. And I think that's, why people are so drawn to the Hour of Empower and what you do. You walk the walk. And, even talking about business, being a salesperson, you never sold anything. I mean, you were just you. You didn't have to sell anything. And it's just fascinating now how this is transitioning into a community on LinkedIn. And what you do for everybody every day is just so wonderful. And it's something I think that so many of us can take away from it of what really matters in life. I mean, and that's what you really focus on. And your family always being at the core. And somebody said in the comments, and
I was gonna show the quotes because Kim, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Visionary and passion with a compassion, and that's you, Don. We already know.
So true.
You're visionary even way back. And then also, I want to, before I go into Kim's comment, you meeting that gentleman, you didn't know who he was. You weren't impressed by him. He was just a human being of having a conversation. And because of that, I'm sure because he was a billionaire. However, he opened himself up and you're like, hey, you're my friend and you're offering me information and I appreciate that. And so now I've been able to pick your brain, go forward, and I'm going to take that and give all that to other people. And it's not the financial that he gave you. It's the friendship and it's the ability to be there and respect you to say, hey, you have no money in this. I want to hear what you have to say. I might be a billionaire, but I respect you and appreciate what you bring to the table to help me and see a bigger picture. So I think those are the greatest kind of relationships. Anyway, but Kim made a comment, which is great because your love story. We all love love stories. We do.
Yes.
I have a love story. We all love love stories. But yes, you need to bring Anne on and to the. I mean, come on, you're talking about the hour of empower. I mean, empowering people to believe in love, believe in a relationship. Oh, look, he's blushing. Anyway,
I'm almost asking Ann to come here. But, to your point, what I realize now from what you're saying, and I think that's the awesome journey, is what Kelly's saying, what Christy's saying. This has been a team effort. We ratchet up together. It doesn't matter who says something first, is mixing all the comments that we have on the side, building in front of people. And my secret was to make someone feel better than anybody in their life does, or at least get close to it. People just want respect. They just want honor. And, I used to tell everybody, there are certain things we just won't tolerate here, and if anybody gets disrespected, that's the end. I don't, and there used to be companies I know, they'd have this great sales guy or gal, mostly guy, who'd be like 50% of their sales. And because he was doing so much, he could get away with anything, right? Because he thought, hey, I got rid of so many of those people so fast, right? Because they weren't thinking of the opportunity they got is an opportunity someone else should have too, right? So if I'm going to carry Fred's word forward, it has to duplicate through others. And making the money wasn't as important as creating the culture, creating the safe spot, because money never keeps people. You give somebody a raise, they're so thrilled for a day or two, in a week it's spent, and now it's an entitlement, right? Where if you give people respect, they never take that for granted because they never get enough of it. And you know what? There's so many people who took advice from people that should have never been in a position to give it to them. And they accepted it, and they lived it. And then by the same token, if you take people that have been just submissive to other people because of what they had to go through, and now you free them up. I mean, when I see Kelly, Christy, I see Gretchen with the flight attendant, all these wonderful people, I'm so proud of them because they're learning their way and then coming back and sharing it with everybody. See, no one goes off. Everybody, it's like a scout. They go out and then they come back and say, here's what I just saw. I mean, me and Paul were talking just yesterday about doing our first Audible. I've never done one of those, and try that out and really give more and more people a chance to participate. And I think what you gals are doing and a lot of other people are opening doors for other people, just like people open doors for you. And that's how we can get a movement. And I'm talking actually to Dr. Constance later, about an hour, about how do we bring all of the groups and the speakers. And what I really want to influence is getting more important conversations, more valuable conversations. People, although I'm doing pretty well, I know a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are going through the stories we came from and they're in. And for someone to be here looking for something, whatever it is, and not receiving it because we timed out, or something else. That if you put everybody first, you'll come out way ahead. That's all I can say.
Amen.
So,
and I think one of the other important takeaways from the cheesecake story, because that honestly is one of my favorites for so many reasons, but it's just the reminder to everyone is you never know what is literally right next to you if you're not paying attention. And I think it just is a reminder to be present and to not, that's part of what this whole community is about reaching out, having conversation with people. And I know we all three have said this probably thousands of times. Maybe I can't work with you or vice versa, but I might know somebody and you might know somebody, or I might have a conversation later and I go, oh my gosh, I think I need to connect them with such and such, they need to have a call. Those are just really such great takeaways. And what I feel, Dawn, going on this part of my journey with you, which has been so wonderful, is doing the Hour of Empower since January, which it doesn't seem like it's possible that it's, we're at the end of June already, which seems crazy. But watching that journey go and how we watched like the audience evolve and the topics evolve and really what everybody was looking for, the common denominator always came back to community, support, safety, and love. And that's what everybody needs. And then, like you're saying, there's people that are, definitely going through things and they need it. Everybody needs that. Everybody's going through something. And so this is, I think, our way. And like I said, the awesome journey was always in the back of my mind of doing something with it. But it was because of you and the catalyst of doing it, and Christy and the way that she is about paying it forward. It's such a simple thing to do, paying it forward and being there for other people. And it is so fulfilling for yourself to be like, I mean, I know how excited Christy gets when she knows somebody who she did the resume and they got hired. Or, Dawn and I getting messages sometimes from our Hour of Empower from people and how it changed somebody's complete mindset in their life. That's what we all can do to one another is just be there, respect each other. I mean, you're just such a great example of just how people should be as human beings, not even just as a business person or as a host on the Hour of Empower. So, I mean, just so many things that I could say. What are your thoughts, Christy?
everything. I mean, comments, and I don't want to, you and I, you know how I am with the comments. It's like I could just ignore them, just keep on having the guests talk.
Yeah.
But I have to respect that because, again, it's Don's fan club. And there's
Yeah.
people that don't know about Don. So Jeff, he wants to know, and plus they're asking questions. They want to learn. And that's, he says, what is the biggest failure you have gone through, and what did you do to overcome them? You just went mute. You're mute. There you go.
Yeah, that brings a lot to mind, and usually failure relates to disappointment, and most of my failures have been just things I needed to learn that at the time didn't understand and thought it was a failure when it really was a sign to move on, and leaving is not easy. Because when you leave, naturally you leave a lot behind and you have less than you did when you get started again, but you have more room to fill it up with what you need. So, I've gotten to believe that every ending is a new beginning. Everything you do is a continuum to what you're doing next instead of a cutoff, a start and a finish. And even on the Today Show, we were talking about confidence. It really depends on where your eggs are, right? If you put them in one basket, then things that don't work out take up everything. But if you're diversified, and here, there is no failure when you have community, right? And what I learned, which is so important about myself, and when people say I do this for other people, I get so much from everybody every day. It's almost like everybody's here for breakfast. I used to take family vacations where I was taking everybody with us. My mother loved to go to Vegas, and 3-4 times a year I'd round up, the kids, the grandkids, and everything was on me. And she'd sit court at breakfast and dinner, and everybody would be free for their days and their nights. And it was so great to have people who, no matter what you do, what has happened to you, they've always loved you. They always will love you. And that's really the thing I've never experienced, is that disappointment of failure with family, with relationships, and the money stuff. I never, when you come from nothing and you have very little, it doesn't take you a lot to be grateful, and to be happy, and to even get to a mature level where you're even happier for other people who have never done it. Because one thing about age, and all of us have a little bit of experience, it's so much easier looking back than forward, right? And you can see things, and I'll tell you the truth, some things take a long time to come all the way around, but if you let them, they do. Things you think, boy, I put out and I didn't get nothing back, or I sure made a bad investment. And all of a sudden you wake up one morning and all of a sudden you got that benefit from it. And, to me, it's like depositing money in the bank. If you keep doing it and you keep making more, you never got to take that away. When you're providing something, it's goodwill you're sharing, not a transaction. Not I'll do this and get this, because that makes it small from the beginning. And who knows how big we can be. I've seen so many Forrest Gump stories. I've seen people that no one thought they could be anything or do anything, and all of a sudden they just outstanding. And you know what? You never forget who those people were who bet against you. Because I always tell somebody, don't bet with me, but please, for your own benefit, don't bet against me. Because I'm just a person that won't be denied. And I met a veteran who lost his legs in Vietnam. And he told that story. And he said, I was I was in battle, and I landed on a mine, and I saw my 2 legs 20 feet away. And I'm sitting here in a puddle. And a lot of people were like me. And I just prayed to God that moment, that if you saved this pitiful life, I will spend the rest of it serving you and everybody else. And he says, you see in front of you a man who's married, has 4 beautiful boys, camps, hikes, does everything everybody else does, right? And the final message he shared is, how do you beat a man who won't quit? You can't. And how to beat anybody here who won't quit. And everybody had tears in their eyes when this guy got off the stage. And the question I know everybody said, what's my excuse?
Yeah.
If he can do it with everything he dealt with, what am I feeling sorry for? And Agmandino, who's a big fan of, or Paul's a big fan of, and I met personally on his last speech before he passed away, and I bring this up before, he says, if you feel sorry for yourself, go to the obituary and ask yourself who would trade places with me, right? And I think that's the key, is getting to yourself, not letting other people get to you, you know, and moving forward when other people stand still or back up. So yeah, a lot of important lessons from a lot of people. No one's self-made, right? There is no such thing.
And that's the, such another, I mean, there's so many important things that have been said in my mind today already, but is that it all is an inside job, but we don't do it alone. Nobody ever gets anywhere by themselves. And I think so many people's, of course, the Hour of Empower here was certainly one of the reasons, is to we all know that everybody's going through something. And if there's just that one person that can hear something that will, let them know that they're not alone, because there's so much of that, or being overwhelmed with life. We're human beings. I mean, I was almost crying just hearing you say that story of him, because it is a good reminder of, what am I bitching about? But we're human, and we get in those places where we do have a pity party for a minute and then have to go, well, wait a minute, snap out of it. Or I need to go talk to someone because I can't get out of the funk. Or however you want to label it. So it's just, I personally could listen to you talked on for hours and hours and hours, and you and I have talked for hours and hours and hours, because there's such joy that exudes from you when you tell a story, and it makes people feel things, and that's one of the things for me that I find so special about what you do for so many people. I guarantee everyone that's been in the chat that has said something, you have made them feel something and reminded them maybe of something, or inspired them for something. And that is just such a true gift. And for you to do this every single day on the Hour of Empower is a gift to all of us. I mean, so much so. And when are you coming up on your year? Because you're getting close, right?
I don't know. I actually just looked at it's probably more, goes back beyond that, but pretty close. But to your point, I find this to be a family of choice that you never had, right? Pick up a couple sisters, maybe a brother, an aunt, an uncle, maybe even a parent figure, and that's the beauty, is coming back to where you came from, but doing it your way in your time with the new group that you have, and gaining acceptance, but also giving acceptance. It's the gift that gives, not the one that gets received, and usually when you get good at it, you get good at it. It's like second nature. We talked the other day that people have a hard time saying thank you. Sometimes they can't kick it out of their mouth. Just like the same people can't say I love you. It almost has to be like a miracle for that to happen, right? And then after a while, you get less numb to things that you need to do, and more numb to things you don't feel you have to do anymore. Because you got to ask yourself, where did these chains come from? Some probably from yourself, but a lot of them, when you left, you took them with you,
Yeah.
And why not get free? And I think that's the whole thing to shows like yours that are so valuable, and people like yourself who need to have the platform to shine with, because they can, and because they're good at it. And that's what I think the revolution is having everyday good people getting together with each other to make things great for the world, right? Instead of great people coming in for a few people. And that's not acceptable anymore. And actually, what's shifted, and it happened in e-commerce, I was always fighting Home Depot, and at a certain point, there was no way I could keep up with them. They just left me in the dust. But when websites came on, all of a sudden, everybody had one website. And it actually, without getting too technical, created channel conflict because no stores can compete online. And all of a sudden, I said, now we're even here. And now I can go work. So it's really carving out something that allows you to be the best person you can, bring so many people with you. That whole comment that, it's lonely at the top. It truly is, and the people who got you there, you want to be there when you celebrate, when you see these Oscar parties, right? And the whole crew of the movie shows up and gets on the stage, and I found myself loving people winning, just getting that award or winning that contest. They worked all their life for it. Now they have their moment. And there's a whole bunch of people who are just look at the other way, tear them down, make it seem not that valuable. And, sometimes doing less is doing a lot better, doing for others and not doing for yourself. It's flipping things around that make the difference. So anyways, me, just like us.
I've learned in my age, and I think, we are all the same. I'm about paying it forward. So I've never been a competitive person. I had to play sports in high school because I had to play sports in high school. I was that person like, I'll come out last. You all win. And that's how I look at life. I mean, I don't want to, I don't look at myself coming out last. I want everybody to win. I want everybody to take whatever they can and for me to help them with their, to encourage them to be the best that they can be. And again, that's why I do what I do. But I do want to share, I got a text regarding this. Didn't know the person was even watching this. So I want to share a nice comment. Great lunch and learn from me. Super enjoyed this podcast. This person's in Delaware. She's an educator. So much of this is transferable to building a culture and community and education. Relationships are key and seeing the value in every stakeholder. It's so true. It's just seeing everybody there's a little bit of everything for somebody. And I'm a true believer that you treat everybody the way you want to be treated. And you never know who somebody knows that needs to know you. So that's your huge network, and that's where you come in. Still, we've got some great comments. We've got Ing Bell. Okay, she's from your show. You're all touching me in so many levels, and I'm well up with grateful tears, stumbled upon, and so excited I did. 61-year-old with an entrepreneurial spirit, but kind of been in a bit of a train wreck much of my life. Time to shine. Age doesn't stop you. Do not ever think, I'm 61, I'm still shining. I'm still trying to get shining, but don't ever, and if this is all about the awesome journey, it's the good, the bad, and the truly whatever we've gone through, but we rise up, we go through, and as Donna shared, that we learn from our experiences. Things happen, we learn from them. And when we learn from experiences, it can be a lesson, it can be experience, but it can be like, okay, it's time to go down this road because this road's not working for us right now.
Redirection. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all. And then Cynthia, it's so necessary because during COVID, so many people lost a lot of face-to-face communication. So having these lives is helpful, bring us all back to having interactive relationships, not just business communication. And I am huge about that. I don't like going out anymore. I mean, I was an extrovert. When Kelle met me, I was a huge extrovert. Because of COVID, I had to learn to be an introvert. But I love these lives because I'm still building, you still get to build those communication, relationships and everything. And then, thank you, Jeff. people like Christy, Kelly, and Donald that bring out the best in people. Well, I think, and contributions limitless. I think it's because of what we've all gone through. When, as Don says, when you don't come from anything, or you have something and you lose it all, and realize that what's the most important. And to me, the most important is relationships, because I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to grow from them. And then I'm going to also help them. I'm going to be their cheerleaders. What do you think, Kel?
I mean, completely agree. And it's just, I think, the beauty of all of this, and yes, COVID changed how we interact with people, is the hour of empower, what we're doing here, what other folks on other shows are doing. It is about getting that human connection back, reconnect with people, and truly have the relationship, and knowing that you're not alone. We've all gone through something. We're all going through something. Meeting people where they're at. Like, I just think that's all that matters. I mean, truthfully, it's that whole community thing to go back to. And I know I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll probably say it 1,000 more. It's where we feel safe, secure, and we feel love. And that's universal. It doesn't matter what's happened, where you're going, where you've been. It's just where you are now, and what you choose in this moment, and what to do with it. And I think, kind of to begin to wrap here, Dawn, I would be interested to know, now that you've been on this trek for, we don't know exactly how many days, but somewhere around a year, which is incredible, and definitely shows the consistency for the win, is where do you see this going in the near future?
That's a beautiful question. And the answer is it's already going. The book is writing itself as we go, because it's all unleashed, right? It's all of us continually generating more goodwill, more good messages. So many people are so inundated, for no fault of their own, with bad messaging, with inaccurate messaging, with emotional, hateful, angry messaging, that when you find a safe harbor, when you find trusting people, I mean, no one here is making money on the show, with the show, or for the show. Everybody in the audience had something they could have done if they weren't here. So everybody's investing together. It's like a mutual fund. You get a whole bunch of stocks for a little bit of money. And with this, you have something worth more than stocks, because stocks come and go. People don't, who are good people. And you never have too many friends, just like you never have too much good family. And I think that's what people have to understand, is what we do is because it works the best too. It's not total altruism. It's better to be a good person than not, along with whatever else you are. Plus, everybody's here for a very short time. Is that the legacy you want to leave? I would love to live on, and I will. And I know these videos, we're helping so many people in the moment, but so many people will never meet or see will get the benefit of us. So many of our friends and relatives, when we're way gone, will continue to see us in real time as real people. How much better could that be, especially in a phony world with AI and everything going on, that the only thing you trust is what you can touch, feel, and see in the moment. And that becomes more precious. And you girls and so many other people are bringing that out there. What we started as a little flame could illuminate the world, right? Because it goes from one to another, next to each other, for each other. And then, I, just like you always say, Kelle, and I'll say this about this show, you should take your temperature when you entered here, and then take your temperature when you leave here. And that proves it's not knowledge that, I'm great to know, 4 years, I'll use it, I'll get some benefit. It's like, wow, I am a better person for being around better people, better conversations. I mean, everything here is for the good. It's upbeat, it's encouraging. And you know what? I hope everybody says it, is that if Don or Kelly or Christy can do it, I know I can do it. That's the message. We're not special. Kelly, Christy, just myself. When I did my first one, I was like a fish out of water, had no idea what was going on. But you know what? I let things take care of themselves without getting involved. Become a spectator in your own event and you'll enjoy it more, you know? And how you do this every day is you love the people, right? It's work when you got to drag yourself, get yourself in front of something, do something, and glad when it's over. Kelly and everybody, Christy, can attest, these are the fastest hours of your life, right? When we said, let's go, and all of a sudden, geez, it's 56 minutes. And you know what? We could talk forever. And I'll tell you one last thing, or one thing before the last thing, is everybody here has beautiful stories in their life. Everybody here has had beautiful people enter it and give you things that they knew you could never return, right? And I think knowing that is no one's self-made. If Jeff came on or Cindy came on, I'm sure they had mentors. I'm sure they had influential people. I'm sure they had awards or certain days of their life that were just beautiful. Well, those days are yet to come again, right? The cycle will complete itself. So I hope this worked out. I'm always available for
God, you hope. We already know it worked out. I want to share with everybody about Don's Hour of Empower. So I'm on Fridays with Harvey Tuck. And what's always interesting is Don has a word, just a word. And I'll look at it and I'll look at my husband going, what am I supposed to say? And I somehow always go down that deep rabbit hole, sharing experiences, because just one word can have so many conversations. And that's what's so great, because you're bringing in so many people with the conversation, and you're just like, you're learning from everybody. So I will suggest to everybody to connect with Don, and it's an hour of empower. I mean, the people that he brings on, you never know who they know that might know you, or you learned from them. So what say you, Kelle?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And an Hour of Empower is every day at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And I am on Thursdays. And I agree. The word part, and I've talked to Don about this before too, what's so fascinating about it to me every time, no matter what day of the week, not just my day, is the different perceptions of words. And it opens your mind to be like, this is one word and it means so many different things to other people. And putting that then into context of, gosh, now think about when you put it into a sentence or a paragraph or into a post. It opens your mind to be like, wow, I could be thinking of this completely different than it was intended. I just think it puts us back to a place of acceptance and opening our mind. I mean, and being curious about other people, which is probably a big part of it too, is be curious about others, ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out and say anything. If you need something or want a connection, do connect with people that are in the comments. Do go watch the Hour of Empower. Christy and I can't say enough about it. It is why we are here. And we are, I mean, and I could say so many things about Don and I'd start crying. He knows it because he is such a gift to our lives in so many ways. And I'm so grateful that he gets to be part of my journey and part of this awesome journey with everyone else. And so we thank everyone for being here today. It was so fun to have Don on this side and share some of his business experience, which I'm sure a lot of you didn't know. So I thought that was really exciting. And please do be sure to tune in next week, where our guest will be Christy.
Don't do that to me.
Oh, sorry, Chris Fields. I will say, I'm sorry. Chris,
my brain. Chris
yes.
Fields, who is the fireman during the Oklahoma bombing, is the fireman that carried out the baby. And he does so much more. He is definitely a hero, but we're all heroes in somebody's eyes.
Yeah, he's incredible. So for all of those of you that do remember that, it is that iconic photo, and he's an incredible human being with an amazing story and yet another awesome journey to share with all of us. So until next week, thank you all again so much. Thank you, Don Cohen. We love you. You are you're a hero to a lot of us too. So thank you all. Go out and have a fantastic day, and we will see you next Tuesday.